All right, well, Broncos country, Maha salute, man. Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready, man? About 24 hours from now, the Broncos will be kicking off their season finale against the Chiefs to clinch a playoff berth. I have been anxious and worried and nervous about this game the entire week. Plus, actually, it's been exactly a week since last week's game. I want to know how you guys are feeling. We're going to break it down. We're going to talk about the the lineup and the depth chart that it looks like we're going to be facing against the Chiefs. Who are the backups? Which starters will actually be playing? Obviously, we know that they're not all going to be backups. So we're going to go through that list. We're going to talk about a little bit of some interesting news in terms of the public betting when it comes to this game in particular. It's actually kind of fascinating as well. If you care about that, we'll get into it. Before we do though, guys, if it's your first time on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like the video. I appreciate you guys. So close to that 500 followers mark. Really working on building out a community, and I'm excited to do so with you. So if you're already a subscriber, thank you. Tell a friend, have a friend, tell a friend, and let's build this thing together. All right, guys. So the Broncos, man, you already know. It's pretty simple. They got to win this game. They win. They're in the playoffs for the first time in almost 10 years. Super exciting, but also very nerve-wracking. Tomorrow's game, first and foremost, a lot of the keys. This is what we're going to go through. Keys to the game is the first quarter is going to be massive. You want this team to come off to a really quick start, put their foot on the gas, and just get after it. The last thing that you want is for panic to start to settle in, for the crowd to really get nervous and get out of it. It is going to be imperative that we get off to a fast start. We've actually done a pretty good job of that the last couple games. So hopefully that's something that we can continue to go off of. Secondly, man, is just, we really need to just be good and be solid at what it is that we know that we do. When you're preparing against a team and you don't know, the starting quarterback and a lot of the starters aren't playing, I don't think really much changes in terms of your game plan. Maybe you're going to look at what does Carson Wentz like to run, but overall, it's still Andy Reid calling the offense. It's still Steve Spagnuolo calling the defense. So it's really going to be about understanding what the habits are, what certain things mean, and just executing. You execute against their offense defensively, and you run good plays against their defense on the offensive side of the football, you're going to give yourself a really good chance to win. The Broncos, historically, even in the really, really, bottom of the barrel days, have always performed and played well against the Chiefs. They've always given them a run for their money. So I think that's super helpful. In terms of getting into who do we think is going to be on the screen, well, I made a little depth chart for y'all. All right, and what we're going to do is we're going to pull this up. Just give me a second here. All right, we're going to go ahead and check this out. All right, so you guys are able to see, yeah, perfect. Sorry, I had thought this thing's all messed up. So this is what I put together. I kind of took out all of the players that were already listed as out or doubtful. The list is lengthy. We talked about it in the last video, but there's quite a bit. So it looks like offensively, what I expect is obviously Carson Wentz getting the start. And I did put Chris Oladokun. He's a practice squad quarterback right now. There is no third stringer on the 53-man roster. I would expect for them to elevate him to be kind of the emergency two. But there's a lot of whisperings and a lot of reports that they really want to see what this kid can do in game action. But not just that. You really want to have Carson Wentz potentially get hurt. You never know what that could lead to down the road into the playoffs. And then if you got to rely on this rookie kid, Chris Oladokun to play, you might not feel too good about it. So there's a possibility that Carson Wentz might not even play this entire game, which is crazy. From running back perspective, no Isaiah Pacheco, no Carson Wentz. I don't even really know how much Samaje Perine will play. He might get a few reps, but he is their third down back. He has a pretty prominent role in that offense. I expect to see a ton of Carson Steele. Here's where it gets kind of interesting, right? So we obviously know that I don't even think they have any starting receivers that are going to be sitting out this game. At least that are not announced. They have Xavier Worthy, DeAndre Hopkins, and Hollywood Brown. I highlighted all the players that are highlighted in yellow. I did that because I don't believe that it's going to be I don't believe that they're going to be playing a lot. I can't imagine a situation where Xavier Worthy's playing a lot, DeAndre Hopkins is playing a lot, Hollywood Brown's playing a lot, especially given how prominent of a role Xavier Worthy's been playing for this team. It wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't play at all. But I do think they get DeAndre Hopkins and Hollywood Brown a little bit of work just because behind them, they've only really got Justin Watson, Juju Smith-Schuster, and this Nick Remigio guy. So they're just kind of a lack of bodies there. And so they're going to have to get at least some play times out of those players. Obviously, Xavier Worthy, I think, is a really good player. Stud. DeAndre Hopkins is still going to give you some fits. So you just got to be on the lookout for those guys. From the tight end position, Noah Gray, we know what he can do. I don't even know how much he's going to play because he's been actually having a really big role in this offense. He's kind of having a breakout season there, just signed a pretty big extension with him. But Noah Gray will be a problem. He will be somebody that'll be out there on the field playing, and no doubt about it, you have to take him into account. On the offensive line side of the ball, it's kind of interesting. I don't know how they're going to ultimately come out and do it. I do think Creed Humphrey and Joe Tooney will play a little bit, but it's really hard for me to believe why would they? Those are arguably two of their best offensive players overall. Creed Humphrey's probably the best center in football. Joe Tooney's obviously one of the best guards, who's been playing tackle for them lately as well. So their O-line is going to be something that's got a little bit of question marks on it. I think that they might try to get a lot of reps for the younger guys, maybe a Wanya Morris, maybe a Kingsley Sumataya, who's somebody that they had drafted. He actually was the starter earlier in the year, and then they kind of benched him and put him away for a couple of weeks because he struggled quite a bit. But he's a rookie. They might look at this as a really good opportunity to get those guys some reps as well. So the O-line might be a little bit makeshift. And on the defensive side of the ball, it's going to be really a lot of guys that we don't know too much about. I mean, you expect Leo Chenal to play. They're really thin in the linebacking group, both on the edge and in terms of their off-ball linebackers. So, we'll see. It's going to be really interesting. There's still going to be some players out there that you recognize. There's still going to be some guys that are a little bit makeshift. All that being said, guys, there's no reason why this team, the Broncos, should not be able to win this game, win it easily. I'll get into my predictions. I ultimately think that they do. I think that there's going to be a few moments there of uneasiness. We might not jump out to this dominating lead right off the bat, but I do think eventually we're going to run away with it. It's just lines up too well for us, right? Being at home, coming off of the two really tough losses where we played very well on the road. Everybody knows it's at stake. What I just don't want to see from this team is them, almost putting too much pressure on themselves. I just want them to go out there and play free, have fun, enjoy the ride. It's been a hell of a season regardless, and get this win. Because you do that, they're going to go out there and they want to have fun. They're going to win the game. And I mean, even I was just watching right now the Ravens and the Browns games on, right? It's another example of a divisional game, example of something that is very kind of similar to what it is that we're going through, right? The Ravens are looking to win the division, secure a home field advantage, at least in the first round. The Browns got nothing to play for, zero. And, Ravens came off to a little bit of a slow start, especially offensively. They did just get a pick six. But these games, sometimes, they don't always go as smooth, right? Things just, for whatever reason, they don't always go as cleanly. So we will see what ends up happening. But overall, I'm starting to feel very optimistic about this game as a whole. Another thing that I found super kind of weird, I want to know what you guys' thoughts are on this, because it's kind of wild to me, to be honest with you, is when you look at, and this is a really cool site, it's called sportsbettingdime.com. And what it does is it takes all of the online sports betting platforms, including, the actual books at the casino in Vegas. And it shows you where all of the money is, what percentage of the bets are on what team, what percentage of the money is ultimately on what team, and etc. And I was looking at it, and the Broncos on the money line, 59% of the bets are on the Broncos money line, 41% are on the bets on KC on the money line. But if you look at the money, 94% of the money for the money line is on Kansas City money line. What that tells me is somebody of these bettors, there might not be a whole bunch of them, but somebody put a really large amount of money on the Kansas City Chiefs. Pretty crazy. They're very confident in it, but at plus 410, 94% of the money. And in addition to that, about almost 80% of the public is taking the KC with the 10.5 points. So, and the over. So what Vegas is showing, what the public perception is showing is, man, the bettors are not really worried about Kansas City overall too much in this game. They're kind of confident in them. I can't believe 94% of the money is on Kansas City in terms of the money line. And even a higher than 50% is going to be on them with the 10.5 points. That makes a little bit more sense. But damn, I mean, it's pretty wild to see quite a bit of money there on Kansas City, given the 10.5 point spread that they gave the Broncos with the backup. So what is Vegas? What do the bettors know that we don't know? I have no idea. It's pretty crazy to think about and to look into. It doesn't make me really feel differently either way, but it's one of those things where, I think this just continues that narrative of publicly sports fans don't really believe in the Broncos much at all. And they'll never really bet against the Chiefs because they've learned over the last few years that that's a really stupid decision. So it could be just that, but I thought that was super interesting. Pretty crazy stuff to find out. Anyways, back to the game. Like I said, it's going to be imperative that we get off to a really big start. We want the fan base to be into it. We want the crowd to be loud. It's going to be a little bit chilly. I don't think there's going to be any moisture participation, but it's going to be a cold game, no doubt about it. And this team needs to establish the run. There's no reason on God's green earth that they should not be able to run against the Chiefs team, especially with a lot of guys on the defensive line, are backups and third string guys. Um, Absolutely no reason that they shouldn't be able to establish the run game. I expect for them to do so quite a bit. And I look for Bo Nix to be very efficient. I think he's going to look for Cortland Sutton a lot, probably 15, 16 targets. Would not surprise me tomorrow for a couple reasons. Firstly, he's your most dependable receiver. Good things tend to happen when you throw the ball towards Cortland. But another thing is he actually has an incentive in his contract where he needs to get 8 catches to get a $2 million bump in his incentives. He's basically hit most of them. So they're going to try to feed Cortland early and often. And it's a great thing. Sean Payton has a history of doing this, of really being able to try to get guys incentives in their contract, and especially in the last week of the season. I don't think he's going to sacrifice like every single ball is going to go to Cortland if it means not in the best interest of the football team. But if you're a betting man, bet on Cortland 8+ catches. I think it's going to be a lock there. I really like that. I really like the ideas of that. And defensively, man, we just got to get back to being more communicative on the back end, playing smarter, not making it so damn easy for the quarterback to get the ball out of their hands quickly. That is something that for sure Carson Wentz and Andy Reid are going to look at doing, getting the ball out as fast as they can. They know that if the pass rush, which is going to have a really good chance of getting to Carson Wentz, gets to him, it's not going to be good things for the team. So they're going to try to establish the run with Carson Steele, some physical running game. They're going to try to get the ball out of Carson Wentz's hand quickly. We just need to be sharp in our coverage. We need to be very disciplined, tackle well. It's hard to go through like the key matchups and the key, moments of the game because it's a unique type of a game. But I don't really care how we end up doing it. I just want to see the Broncos get a win, point blank period. I think we do so. Like I said, I think it's going to be a little bit of a closer game. I really do believe so. For a majority of it. I think maybe even for the beginning part, like it wouldn't surprise me if at halftime it's a 10-3, 13-3 type of ball game, right? But I do think late we break it out, we get into 2 possessions, and then maybe the Chiefs at the end get some sort of a last minute garbage time touchdown that ultimately really doesn't matter. I do have the Broncos winning this thing by a score of 26-17. I want to know what you guys' thoughts are. I'm nervous just like y'all, man, but let's get this. Let's have good vibes, good energy for this team. I believe in it. It's been a hell of a season. There's been so many positive things to talk about in the future just because of what the season has shown. But there's no doubt about it. It would be a disappointment, a huge, massive disappointment if the Broncos blew away the opportunity to make the playoffs in a season like this. So let's not even go there. Let's not even talk about it and put it out there. I want to know what y'all think. How you guys feel in Broncos country? I'm planning on going live right before the game tomorrow, just to kind of ease some nerves. Hopefully, interact with some of you guys. So check out for that. I'll put a link out, pretty early in advance. So if you have any notifications or anything turned on, you can see it. But it's gonna be big, man. Let's get it. Broncos are healthy. Oh, another thing of note: Frank Crum out of this game, obviously with an illness all week, didn't practice. Keep an eye out on that. As a player that the Broncos could potentially IR to bring on somebody else onto the active roster. Not just for this game. I don't think it's going to happen for this game because they kind of announced that. But maybe if there's a playoff run, maybe into the playoffs. It gives the Broncos an opportunity to open up a roster space with a guy that's not going to play anyways. So just something of note there to keep an eye out on. Otherwise, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Thank you, man. It's been a hell of a season. I love it. And I'm praying that we're going to have another week to talk about Broncos and talk about another game coming up here, after tomorrow. So appreciate you guys in advance. Peace out. Spend time with those you love the most. And until next time, you already know what to do.